Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Berkowitz. I'm the community manager here at Clerk Chat. And
Hi everyone, I'm Will. I'm our AI implementation specialist, and we're discussing this week's AI news.
so today we have 4 topics to cover. John Schulman, an OpenAI co founder, has left for Anthropic. Microsoft now considers OpenAI a competitor. Zoom's new AI driven docs. And today's wild card is the thermometer method out of MIT for checking AI reliability. Let's tackle this first topic. OpenAI co founder leaves for Anthropic. This is right out of TechCrunch. We're referring to John Schulman here. He posted on X yesterday, and his statement explained his goals included focusing on AI alignment and participating in more hands-on technical work. Will, were you at all surprised by this news?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing to leave OpenAI and any company you've been with for a while. Like Ilya a few months ago, who was the chief scientist at OpenAI, he left as well. And everyone kind of thought that was for safety reasons. Like, what did Ilya find out that no one else knows? I don't think it's a surprise, really, especially with everyone's been switching around. People come and go all the time.
So the next topic, Microsoft says OpenAI is now a competitor in AI and search. This was from CNBC. This is so bizarre because, as you know, Microsoft has invested billions in OpenAI. I actually think they might be their largest investor. Here's a scoop. Microsoft's already considered tech giants like Amazon, Apple, Google, and Meta to be considered competitors, but it just added OpenAI to the list according to its annual report. To me, this sounds really just like a friendly competition, and I kind of love this idea of partnership and competition together. Can you help me, though, better understand how ChatGPT and Copilot differ?
Yeah, 100%. The way I like to think about it is that ChatGPT is kind of an assistant that you ask questions to, just like you'd ask a friend or you'd ask a teacher, and you can prompt it to basically fill any of those roles. But the way I view Copilot is like a coworker, literally right beside you as you're working, helping you do your work better. So an example of this is coders. Microsoft has a Copilot that will work in a coding environment, and as you're typing your code, it will predict the text or automatically do it for you. You can say, generate this code for me, and it will put that in. So the core product is the same. They're both LLMs that will give you an answer based on a task and what you want it to do. But one of them is kind of integrated in your workflow, and one of them, ChatGPT, is one that you can bring in as and when you need.
So the way I'm understanding it is that some people might use both ChatGPT and Copilot because they use them for 2 different purposes.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they're now a competitor. I mean, I kind of viewed them always as a competitor, even though they were heavily invested in OpenAI, right?
Oh, that's
Now.
so interesting. From your perspective, you always kind of viewed it as a competitor.
Yeah, definitely. Just because they've both built different large language models, even though they're slightly different. You know what they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
I'd like to toss in Zoom here. Zoom is actually going after Google and Microsoft with AI driven docs. This was from Wired. Zoom isn't kidding around and clearly wants to compete with Microsoft and Google. The AI companion that Zoom offers has been around for almost a year now, which gives us the ability to create meeting summaries or ask the AI questions and get answers based on the meeting, like, can you catch me up? Candidly, I use Zoom, but I have never actually made use of the AI companion, so I checked it out yesterday because I was just curious. AI driven docs seems to be Zoom's version of Google Docs or maybe like a Microsoft Word. And here is basically how it works. You have to, number one, be running the latest version of Zoom. It may seem obvious, but I couldn't find Zoom Docs anywhere until I actually updated the software. So that's a really important point to notice. Once you do, you have to make sure the window is maximized, and you'll see the option on the top menu where you'd find team chat, calendar, etc. If you're not an admin, you have to request permission to enable AI Companion in Zoom Docs, by the way. You can start a doc on your own. You can ask AI Companion to help you get going. And then once you have content, you can then use the AI to help refine, whether it be tone, length, format. I also think they're offering this as a way for people to work together on something while in a meeting. I give Zoom a lot of credit here because they went from being known as solely a video conferencing platform to a much broader productivity suite. But here's what I'm wondering. Whether or not AI is becoming an integral part of document creation and collaboration, versus is it more of a supplementary tool?
You got to give Zoom a lot of credit from just basically not being known before 2020 to Zoom being a household name during COVID. And now they're basically a Microsoft Teams. They've got a whole suite of tools. And this Docs is another example of how they're expanding into that area. Like on Microsoft Teams, you've got OneDrive. On the Google Workspace, you've got Google Drive and Google Meet. And now with Zoom, you can meet and also make docs. So I think that's super cool from Zoom. You can use it to supplement like meeting notes. Like we sometimes use Fireflies at Clerk Chat where it will summarize all of our meeting notes and send it to everyone. So in that case, I'd say it's a supplementary tool. And then when it's an integral part of document creation and collaboration, for me, that would be like giving a document a prompt and saying, you know, I want to write this, this, and this, like start me off. And that's like an integral part in creating a document. You're collaborating with AI. And I think as we just talked about Copilot before, I think we're definitely heading in that direction. And you can see it in coding already, where it'll start creating the code base for you. What's your opinion on that?
Maybe my answer is twofold. So when I was watching the YouTube tutorial, something really neat that they showed is that it can essentially take your meeting transcript and then have the AI companion turn it into a template or a table. And I actually think that is really cool. However, I also look at using AI for writing and documents similar to how we all learned how to handwrite when we were younger. There's this era of kids whose handwriting is less developed because schools are just more naturally relying on technology and computer usage. And I totally understand that. But once you become so reliant on using a Chromebook, as an example, to do all your written homework, when you do have to sit down and do something written, your hand muscles aren't working the same. It just feels really different and you don't have the stamina for it. So I guess my concern is if we can use AI and all of these doc programs, I'm not specifically talking about Zoom at this point, I'm just talking about in general, is it going to take away our muscle memory of how to write?
Yeah. Or how to get even creative ideas, right? Like if you want to create a doc on this or structure ideas, like how do you lay out a document? I guess we'll see with the advance of document tools.
100%. So here's our wild card today. We always are talking about reliability of AI and the output that we receive. I found this really awesome tool out of MIT. The name of the article was Method Prevents an AI Model from Being Overconfident About Wrong Answers. So the number one reason I've had a hard time trusting AI is because it does at times generate inaccurate responses. And if you don't happen to catch that, you might believe for it all to be true. That's not to say that a Google search won't suggest links to inaccurate information. Of course, it happens, right? But you can easily scroll through and find what you consider to be a reliable source. That being said, I've noticed a recent uptick in LLMs providing sources for their output, which I believe we spoke about last week, actually. So AI is very quickly winning points from me by providing the sources where they're sharing the information from. I totally felt heard when I read this article from MIT as they said, the models can be overconfident about wrong answers or underconfident about correct ones, making it tough for a user to know when a model can be trusted. So now the researchers from MIT and the MIT IBM Watson AI Lab created this tool called the Thermometer. It works very similarly to how a thermometer works for humans when they're not feeling well. At least this is the way I was understanding it. So let's say you don't feel well. You're going to use a thermometer to see if you have a fever, right? And whether or not your hunch is correct. So either you have a fever or you don't. When it comes to an LLM, the thermometer, the way I understand it, is essentially a mini LLM that's checking the temperature of the response and whether it's reliable or questionable. Like, is the fever there? Is it not there? That's how I understand it. Do you think that this thermometer tool could lead to a healthier relationship with AI?
I think that this thermometer tool could lead to more informed decision making for a few reasons. I think that asking AI to evaluate itself, so either on a scale of 1 to 100 or on a thermometer scale, means that it produces more responsible and accurate outputs because it's thinking it through more, just as a human would think out a response more, just as I've had to do now. And the second thing that's great about that is that when it can explain itself, it helps us understand what it's doing better. And those two things, more accurate answers and more understanding from humans on why that answer is being produced means that we'll have a healthy relationship with AI, and also make sure that those responses are keeping with what we want AI to be outputting.
I was thinking that there is a cohort of people who are so hesitant about using AI for any reason. Maybe having something like the thermometer will help bring them around and better understand that it's still being tested.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
still an experiment.
yeah, completely.
All right, William, this was awesome. As always, I loved having our chat. I love talking big tech and our wild card about the thermometer, and we will talk next week.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. Nice to chat.
Bye.